expected to seek out the best. 2 words to describe the activity.
The Yoruba Unity Forum is conducted.
Be the first to know from the north, south, east, west, and around Africa.
Presidential
We break the news.
Women in Nigeria.
Now you can catch all the actions live as the news breaks. We are Core TV News.
Welcome to Core TV Primetime
News, a 24-hour news station.
This morning, Nigerians encourage corruption, says University of the Punch newspaper. And Nigerian Governor Forum calls for Okonjo Iweala's resignation. Page 2 of the Punch newspaper.
The dailies every day on Core TV News.
Thanks for joining us again on Core TV News on Monday. Time now to find out what the top stories are on some of Nigerian newspapers. I have the Punch, the Nation, the Guardian, as well as the Vanguard newspaper for review. We'll start with the Punch this morning. Interim government rumor treasonable, says Jonathan. That's on page 2 of the Punch. And gunmen kidnap Amechi's aide. Page 19, if you care to check. Let's move away quickly from there to the Nation newspaper. Activists warn Jonathan against tenure extension. The writer, President, interim government is treasonable. Day of action, February 28. There is no way Goodluck Jonathan will head an interim government. The only interim government anyone can constitute is that of the military government, which will not be acceptable. That's what Mr. President is saying. Now, we call on the National Assembly to extract a form of undertaking from the NSA and the security chiefs that elections would not be further postponed or disreputed. You recall that all of these issues started at the floor of the Senate last week when Professor Atahiru Jega was asked to confirm whether elections will no longer be postponed, and it was kind of applied some wisdom to say that he didn't postpone it in the first place. There are adversary functions from the service chiefs, and only they can decide whether the cloud is clear enough for elections to go on. Troops mandated to capture Shekau alive. And the front page picture here shows the APC presidential candidate, General Muhammadu Buhari, with House of Rep Speaker Aminu Tambuwal after a meeting in London. APC renews call for Ekiti rigging tapes probe. Jega meets security chiefs on elections date. Rivers violence threat to democracy, says Peterside. Mimiko, PDP chief battle for Jonathan's campaign. Let's move away from there and find out what the Guardian has to offer this morning. Nigeria gets local content law for power sector. Others. The writers here, citizens to take priority over foreigners. Firms to give first consideration to made in Nigeria goods in contract award. Utilities to submit yearly localization plan. Well, we hope that all of this can match with action in due time. The government bans overseas training for workers. That's on page 4. Female suicide bomber kills self. Others at GSM Market. That's on page 5. PDP 6 probe into alleged beating of Imo widows. That's on page 6 of The Guardian. Now let's see what the Vanguard has also this morning. Calls for interim government treasonable, says Jonathan. I will inherit empty treasury, says Buhari. That's on page 8 of the Vanguard. Says new polls date, May 29, hand over sacrosanct. That's Mr. President. Catholic bishops warn politicians against heating polity. Alleged smear campaign, Nimasa threatens to sue the APC. The front page picture also tells a story. You say Catholic bishops conference and Mr. President somewhere at the center of it all. 7-year-old female suicide bomber kills 5, injures 19 in Yobe. Capital flight economy had hit by $22.1 billion outflow in 5 weeks. All right, the Mr. and Mrs. is also here. You love me, says the woman, yet you are so stingy, so uncaring that I, your wife, knows absolutely nothing about your account. And the man says, come on, honey. But that's not true. You know a lot about my Twitter account. On the back page of the Vanguard for some sports, we've accomplished our mission to Niger, or is that Niger? I believe that's Amunike on the 17th FIFA World Cup ticket. It's bloody. The blooded face of Martin Murray contorts as Gennady Golovkin connects with another barrage of brutal punches to rock the Britain. Chelsea at casing moderate sleep, says Shearer, and my team's work in progress, says Siasia. Now let's turn our attention to business this morning as we discuss the May 29 handover, the rumored extension. All of that kick-started with the statement by the Professor Tahiru Jega, chairman of INEC, saying that it's probably within its power to talk about how sacrosanct the rescheduled dates are. I'm joined now by the caretaker chairman of Labour Party in Lagos State, Femi Onofe. Thank you very much for finding time to join us today.
Thank you so very much.
We'll also have legal practitioner and public affairs analyst Bosun Oshifora. Good morning and thank you for coming.
Morning, thank you.
It's been a while. It's always a pleasure to have you come once in a while.
Same here.
Okay, so where do I start from? Let me start from the party man himself. This idea of, people say May 29 is sacrosanct. It also brings to mind why the election was postponed in the first place. Insecurity. As a matter of fact, Mr. President talked about the particular bomb blast that took place on February 14, how that could have also disrupted the earlier scheduled election. Is it about the sacrosanct of a handover or the safety of the conduct of the election?
Well, when it comes to issues of security, I would rather be very careful because I really don't know much. I know at the level of the presidency, the information is available to him and I'll never know about. And there are so many layers of individuals who have layers of information. And if they say that February 14th wasn't safe, well, I want to agree. As far as I'm concerned, the extension has even done so much tension. There were, the National Human Rights Commission made a publication. In 50 days, 58 people have died. Not died in their sleep, not died of sicknesses, were actually killed. Some shot, some macheted to death. And if we had that kind of build-up and we're going to sustain it into an election, only God can tell what would have come out of it.
This position has no partisan interest, does it?
Absolutely no. This is absolutely not partisan. Because I pity those who have to put up a defense on all of these matters. Because the thing is, it's bad enough as it is. The extension for a lot of people is a frustration. For some people, is a breather. For some people, is some relief. So it's neither here nor there. For those who want to jump around and make the noise about the extension, they jolly well can go ahead. For those who are putting up the defense, it's their headache to do that. For all I care is that if they say May 28th, we want to go to the... I'm even more frustrated because the truth is, if you say go to the polls today, I don't even know who to vote for. That's my frustration. I want to be categorical here.
What about your party as a party decided?
No, my party doesn't have a presidential candidate. And we said, preceding these elections, that we're not going to contest in the 2015 elections because we had issues to deal with.
But you've always had a romantic relationship with the PDP. So
no, that would be unfair. The thing is this, we have had people in the Labour Party who, I would say clearly, for pecuniary reasons, continue to parade and romance the presidency. It's not for the interest of anybody, not even without consultation. Because I can say, even before President Jonathan became the candidate of the PDP, the former national chairman had gone on air to endorse him when the man yet wasn't the ticket carrier. And so that's the extent of desperation for some people. But I don't want to go into that. I don't want to delve into that. For all I care is that, look, an election was supposed to take place in February 14th. Was Nigeria ready on February 14th for the election? Was INEC truly ready for elections on February 14th? I was in a forum recently. Allow me to, I was in a forum recently and INEC was present. And I had the privilege to ask a question. And I said, look, we are looking at an election around the bend. And I'm aware there are pictorial evidences, there are videotapes of 10-year-old, 7-year-old, 9-year-old with PVC. And you know what the INEC said? That in that matter they are helpless. That the INEC can do little or nothing about it. And we are ready for an election? The whole thing about the election in this country has always been a huge joke. Somebody has sat down someplace and they will always find a way. It's like walking from answer to question. They always find a way of putting whatever they want to put together and then they produce. And unfortunately, Nigeria is saddled with two major liabilities. Two political parties that have become the biggest problem in the history of existence of this country. And that's the fact.
Okay, I don't want to preempt what parties you're talking about, but I guess you know exactly what you're talking about. Let me come to you, I almost call you Professor.
I don't mind.
But then, some are saying that probably that for the first time in a long time, federal government is marching worse with action. Because during that presidential media chat, Mr. President said, okay, within the 6 weeks, we might not be able to totally defeat Boko Haram. But indeed, we will capture back all of the 14 local governments. Mongono, the Nigerian military says is back. Baga, they say is back. 300 insurgents killed last week. And it looks as if the military is enjoying some success at this time, especially what they call the regional force action in northeast Nigeria. Would you say that indeed this 6 weeks extension has been a blessing in disguise?
Well, let's see. Well, in the second or third week, let's see. We've seen too many things from the Nigerian army, and I would rather wait and see the outcome. If it's the same Nigerian army who told us that they've killed Shekau as many times as possible, and the guy keeps resurrecting, I think he's even resurrected more than Jesus Christ. All right, and then also there was a tweet from the same Nigerian army that the girls were here only for them to come out and tell us that it was a school bus that was passing and taking some kids somewhere. All right. Be that as it may, we don't want to take the shine off them. I would wait for the end of the 6 weeks before I come out and say anything. This has nothing to do with law. I'm not talking about the legal side of it. I'm talking about the reality. All right. Now, let's see them. Let's see. We've had so many things. They'll tell us they are in charge of this place. Then the next day, you see flag hoisted up by the insurgents. So we don't know. So we would rather look for the reality than just listen for what they're saying. All right. So basically, what I'm saying is that let's wait for the end of the 6 weeks to be able to judge and say this. If we see people return, if we see pictorial evidence that people are back to their homes, I think sometime last week I saw Boni Haruno went to some places. I wonder where the people were returning to. And you know, with this government, we've seen a lot of masquerading and all sorts of things. We've seen all kinds of photo trees in different areas. So let's wait. Let's see by 6 weeks, let's hear what they will say, because as at a few days to the last date, the February 14th, they were still telling us they will go ahead, even though they flew a kite earlier by the CSO in Chatham House when he went there and said that elections can go on. But they left that there, then kept everybody going until a day or two before, and they told us it won't fly. Nigerians are very patient people, but I think they shouldn't test the patience of the people.
Let's look at the justification of these two factors. Prior to the earlier scheduled February 14 election, the PVC collection rate was higher even in northeast region. We have states there having 70, 74, 75. Unlike Southwest, where there is no insurgency at all. Now, many started asking questions about how come the same reason why the election was postponed, how come we had more people? Of course, yesterday we were able to speak with Senator Mohammed I'm wondering why you guys are laughing. who insisted that there is no truth in claims that Boko Haram activities should have prevented registered voters from collecting their PVCs. What are your thoughts along that?
I'm part of the theatrics. Because, like I said, we have a political class that works from answer to question. And somebody asked that question in the open. And Professor Jega has not been able to give us an answer. If there's insurgency in Borno State, and in Borno State, 82% of the people had collected their PVCs. And in Ogun State, you can only tell us that 52% had collected the PVCs. Therefore, crying out loud, in Ogun State, there's absolute peace. You can actually go to their houses to give them their cards without anybody obstructing you. And yet, in Ogun State, the PVCs were not distributed beyond 52%. And so that tells a lot of things about the INEC that we have. I'm compelled to challenge the integrity of Professor Jega. It's not because of the fact I have immense respect for him, but he has brought himself to the fore. And if you must do a job, you must be ready to do it and do it very well. Like they say, that justice must only not be done, but must be seen to have been done. In this case, we all have to be able to be convinced that Adeolu Jega's credibility and integrity is truly no hulu. Otherwise, we will just sit back and say, okay, whatever comes out of the election is already predetermined, and however they work it out, let them work it out.
Just a minute, Extra. Let's look for Undume on PVC. Senator Mohammed Undume is concerned about claims of irregularities in the distribution of PVCs in Borno states and other states in the northeast, and he insists that there is no truth in the claims that Boko Haram activities should have prevented registered voters from collecting their PVCs in his state. Let's find out exactly what he has to say.
I heard about it, but you know, let me tell you, my brother, things that are happening to us, it's only God that will save us. Because you find children that are in the camps that they don't know where their parents are. I have somebody that I know that has 18 children, he could only locate 3. He has 3 wives, he could only locate 1. I have those ones. I have people that are here, children that I had to send back. Because when they were running away, they joined all the available means of transport and they find themselves in Abuja. So in some of the IDPs, we discovered that they are, you know, young boys of 16, 13, or even less from my local government that find themselves in Abuja. And some as far as in Lagos. We have to transfer them back to the camps and keep them in the camps there. So, and then you always have people that are taking advantage of any bad situation. So they engage in that. I had, you know, the instances, but we are keeping an eye on it, and the IDP zones are now being more secured, and the instances we have of this is being really taken care of.
Do you smell any foul play? Especially from the position he took it from. He was talking about IDPs. He's talking about a situation whereby people cannot even stay back at homes. And then we have a situation whereby more PVCs are being collected.
I don't understand. Seriously, I don't understand. Because if the people are displaced and 82% has been distributed, there are some ghosts electorates that are collecting the thing. Because, I mean, from he's on ground, he's a senator, he said that his people have gone as far as Lagos State, running away from the places. Husband cannot find wife, so somebody must have collected something on behalf of somebody. Basically, that's the implication of what he's saying. I'm not there. He's representing the place. So that claim of 82%, there's more to it.
Let's look at the legal provision for the May 29 handover. Of course, INEC says that according to the Electoral Act, elections must hold not less than 30 days before May 29. But in such a case whereby security is also a factor, is there any legal manipulation that is acceptable in this situation?
Legal manipulation?
I'm saying that, is there any provision for a further extension from the legal point of view?
Well, I think everything rises and falls on security. If we are in a state where elections can't hold, we wouldn't say because the Constitution says it and we put everybody's life in jeopardy. Well, the alternative is to basically, according to the law, sorry, anyone? Yeah. All right. Basically, the alternative is to create some form of extension. That's why the president was saying that what will lead to basically will be the interim government having to stand in place so that things can be done properly. But the president has said there's nothing like that. He has also said the security is picking up. Then the elections will hold and we're fine. So let's not go in that direction.
So you're saying that there is no way that elections would not, there's no way elections will not hold.
I'm not saying, the president is saying.
I see.
He's saying. So he's the one saying, and we're to follow it.
What I'm trying to say is that, is there any legal provision for such extension in the case of any insecurity or security threat, so to speak, within the country?
There will always be. You cannot have a state without government. There are always provisions. There are, what will happen is that the tenure of this government would end. So what we'll have is that the government cannot continue forever. It has a tenure. Now, when it ends, then something else has to pick. That's where the kite of the interim government is being flown. But how long they are going to be in place, I don't know. But basically, the government has said the reason why they postponed was because of security. And they said that everything is taking shape. So it's not like we shouldn't talk about it. I mean, what you're saying basically is that in the event that it doesn't hold, what do we do? One, in the event it doesn't hold, the tenure of this government ends. So that means the government must end. Now, then we go into some form of interim arrangement, something that will hold so that you can't say because there's no election, we won't have government.
Mr. President already says that all of this insinuation, the idea of mentioning interim government in itself is a treasonable offense. Where is this idea coming from?
That's the first question. The first question I wanted to sound. Who suggested interim government in the first instance? I didn't suggest interim governance. Said there's so much desperation. There are people who can't see themselves outside of government. And there are those who can't imagine themselves in 2015 not getting into government house. And so they are manipulating and they are manufacturing all kinds of threats. They are actually threatening us as Nigerians. That look, hey, if it doesn't go our way, we are going to make sure that there's no government, and so what you are going to have is an interim system. And somebody's thinking, and it's a shame that the security apparatus in this country are not taking the appropriate measures. Such individuals suggested that should be answering questions by now. What do you mean interim government? If we have a date for an election, and for crying out loud, we are not there yet, and from all indications, the security situation is improving. The military has come out to say they have done this, they have done that, and I have no reason to fault them. They didn't say they conquered Baga 6 weeks ago. So if they say they have Baga under their control right now, I have no reasons to doubt them. And matter of fact, I commend them and I congratulate them because for crying out loud, for the first time, because I watched pictures on AIT yesterday, and I saw people who could speak on the streets of Maiduguri. And for a long while, that was not the case. And so I commend the Nigerian military, I commend the security operatives, but I think the man who first mentioned interim government should be answering questions by now. Is he intending creating sufficient problems for us so that we do not have a transition? Is it that he must be in government, otherwise Nigeria will go up in flames? Or what is he talking about?
Let's open the phone lines at this time.
Sorry, if I may say something. I need us to watch out for something. This government has a way of flying a kite before they come up with the real thing.
Let's get to the phone lines and find out what the viewer really has to say. Hello, good morning.
Good morning.
Welcome to CoreDigest. What's your name and where are you calling from?
I'm calling from Kaduna.
Good morning, Alaji. How are you today?
Sorry.
Please go ahead with your contribution.
Exactly. I'm saying good morning to the two gentlemen there.
Good morning.
Good morning, sir.
I have how they analyze the issues and appreciate the way they talk. I know they have to do sort of difficulty of heart. But now the military has no option than to go after the Boko Haram people. Because the Chinese, the Canadians, the Nigerians, the France, the America have outdone them. So they have the mandate to enter into Nigeria. So now the military has no option but to go after the Boko Haram. Because it allows the Chinese to come into Nigeria and capture Shokau. We don't know what will come. To prove the Nigerian military should capture Shokau for themselves, not the military. And with regard to the election day, the other is ready. And the military has no role in postponing the election. And even the government has confirmed that you have no mandate to say that day, the 28th and 29th of April will remain. It depends on the military. But what I want, Nigerians should be more focused. They should be more enlightened. They should connect their BBC and make sure they come out for that election so that the election will be peaceful. And the president has said everybody who wins will be handed over to. So all we are after is we make sure election must fall. And we people should enlighten Nigerians to connect their BBC because it's most important. And we don't want violence, we don't want any crisis, any chaos. And we don't want the politicians to come back and see people as they have put it before to 14 February. So, good luck. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Alaji Dangulegule from Kaduna, for your contribution on the show today. Barrister, have we been able to draw the line, the legal line, between what we call freedom of expression and what Mr. President is calling a treasonable utterance. Because it looks as if each time, almost every other day, we hear politicians say things. We call it heating up of polity, but nobody really has been brought to book according to the law.
Yeah, well, when it comes to freedom of expression, it means basically that you can say anything, anywhere you are, but it has its own limit too. Whatever you are expressing should not bring him down in the eyes of right-thinking people. And also, when it comes to government, whatever you are saying should not incite people or should not create a situation where people will have to come against government and try to bring down the government. Now, on the claim by Mr. President that they talk about interim government, I think what brought about the issue of interim government basically has to do with people thinking the way things are going. In the event that you cannot capture within 6 weeks, as claimed. I mean, we've seen them come up with promises and say things that we'll do this, and for whatever reason they have to extend. If for whatever reason they have to extend this, definitely by May 29, the tenure of this government comes to an end. And once it comes to an end, then they have to vacate. Now, when you vacate, what happens? You have to hand over to some form of interim government to handle things until everything is properly done. Now, so I think that's where the suggestion came from. Now, for him to say it is seditious, it is treasonable, it is this, it is that, I think that is his own thinking. But basically, he's trying to make Nigerians understand the fact that there is nothing like that on his own card. There is nothing like that on this government's card. Whatever happens, he's been saying it, that May 29 is sacrosanct. Now, but the sacrosanct, we just keep our fingers crossed and watch.
Let's take this call. Hello, good morning.
Hello, good morning.
We have Tochukwu calling from Anambra. Good morning, Tochukwu.
Good morning, brother.
Please go ahead with your contribution.
Okay, very quickly, I want to ask this categorical question. Why is it that the opposition, to be more specific, the APC, why is it that at this point they are not coming up with press statements to congratulate our military? You see, I want me to ask this question because there is a growing concern among Nigerians that it does appear that the only campaign instrument the APC has is when security is deteriorating. And it will be most unfortunate if that becomes the case. You see, over the time, we have cause to examine the characters that are the backbone of the OPC. I have reasons and statistical evidence to prove that these are both of PDP members. Is it Saraki? Is it Atiku, who was the vice president of other PDP for 8 years? Is it Anesi, who was the PDP speaker for 8 years and later become a governor until last year he becomes? Is it one person? I can go on and mention them. Now they are finished of a job who has now become a chief aggregator. You see, what I'm saying is that the opposition, when it came of OPC, there was reason to believe that they are credible. But along the line, they are misstepped. And that is my own personal gross. You see, why can't the APC look inward and recruit fresh horns? Are there no more genuine and credible politicians in Nigeria, apart from those who failed in PDP? So it's only when PDP has problems, those positions can thrive. I mean, this is regrettably unbecoming. And finally, let me say this. They should curtail the rate with everything and everybody in Nigeria. They are fighting with Nemata, they are fighting with the military, they are fighting virtually with every government parapata. And lastly, the petition Nigeria to South Africa. Imagine, I mean, this is not opposition. This is one over those of opposition syndrome. And we are not happy about that. This is my contribution.
Thank you very much, Tochukwu, for your contribution from Anambra. But haven't the electorate been able to justify probably the sanctity of the position of the APC at this time? If we have people who move from one party to the other, imagine an APC campaign without the Buhari factor. The idea that people can easily move from one party to the other, and then the people seem to accept the system.
Now, let me talk to you like a politician. The thing is that in this country, the people have been played out long time ago. In the political space, especially between the two principal characters and political parties, the interests of people don't matter. for them, it's about assessing power and assessing our commonwealth. It's not about the people. So this whole struggle, you find out, look, it is not, if you want me to serve, I serve. If I can't serve, I find my way home. I must not force myself to serve you. And that's the challenge. That's the question we must ask ourselves. Why are people so desperate to enter into public office? Many of these individuals have nothing to do beyond politics. They have no visible means of livelihood. They have no businesses. They have nothing. They have no clear undertakings apart from politics. And for them, power is do or die. And so that's why you have all of this on this kind of heat that's been generated here and there. People, this unwholesome engagements. People say all kinds of terrible things, and that's why I blame the president. And that's one of the challenges he has to carry. The truth is that he has shown that he doesn't have the stomach to deal with some of these issues frontally. There are certain individuals who should not be walking the streets of Nigeria by now, if I were in government. And I do not have to do it outside of the law.
You know, some have said that it's always very hard to punish the same system that brought you to power. Isn't that how it works in our barrister? For instance, some are saying that Buhari is a disciplinarian, but what happens to all of the personalities that are funding the Buhari campaign when it gets to power? Do you expect Mr. President to turn back on the same people that sponsored his election?
No, but I think
president?
One should think beyond now and think posterity. You should think about where having your place in history, that some people brought me to power. If they're culpable, if I don't do anything to them, then I'm just creating an environment of evil, or an environment for evil to thrive. Now, so if he brought me here and he's done something wrong, I should be able to correct him, or create an enabling environment, or create a system that will go back and judge these people and make sure things are done properly. But if you allow things to just go on like that, it will degenerate into something that you yourself won't be able to handle. And at the end of the day, you create a monster out of it. So for those talking about Buhari, those are allegations. You cannot say, you know, the law will tell you that nobody is, until proven guilty, you cannot hold someone that he has committed this crime. Now, we all have allegations that those sponsoring Buhari are this, are that. No proven case against them of corruption that we know through the courts. Right, so you can't.
Also by the excuse of immunity.
Ah, well.
Or what they call plea bargain.
But, well, the immunity will still.
Also by the excuse of immunity, because they are sitting governors we can't touch.
Ah, well, but the immunity will soon elapse. May 29 is sacrosanct. So then you can bring.
What really has happened to those who have even left power? Have we been able to have we gotten that system in Nigeria that has been able to penalize corrupt leadership, so to speak?
No. The laws are there, the personnel are there, but the willingness is not there on the part of the government. I mean, if you have people playing major role in the president's campaign who have issues that are not, I think in saner climes, where you have baggages like that, you don't even come out in the open and take this kind of responsibilities. But here, I think like my colleague here said, people are out not to serve, but to see what they can get from the politics.
There's a new amendment now to the Constitution that allows independent candidates during elections. Is that the solution to our problems?
I'll tell you clearly that it's an afterthought. It's actually created to create confusion in the political space. I will say, on good authority, that if you need to contest for a local government chairmanship in Nigeria today, in the minimum, you are looking at an expenditure of well over 200 million naira. And hardly can anybody ever fund himself. And so we have to be realistic. As people just sit down, there are critical issues in this country. Independent candidate is not critical. And thank God he's a lawyer. And he just said, there are people I know who are not even in the president's team, who have cases standing that have been there for God knows when. Even the witnesses have forgotten about the cases. And somebody goes to court, his colleagues go to court, get unimaginable adjournments. The bench, let me tell you what's adjournment.
I say
to start with, even
injunction.
injunction. You know, what I find funny is that, you see, when we talk corruption, if I'm the one involved, it is not corruption. I can point at all other people who are corrupt, but when it's my turn, I'm not corrupt. I've seen people paid adverts on newspaper to congratulate the man because he got appointed as a caretaker, whatever it is, in a local government. Because now he can sign and award contracts. And it's every wrong of our life is inflicted with corruption. And we have not dealt with those critical issues because we have created a system by ourselves, consciously created a system. We have created a constitution that says that every state must be represented at the Federal Executive Committee and Council rather. And then you have, and how can we afford it? That kind of bogus size of governance. We have not touched it. And we are running to independent candidacy. That
Well,
for me is
they
not,
say
is,
everything rises and falls on leadership. If we've not had the leadership that can tackle corruption, many are even saying that even the two major parties we made mention earlier, that probably we don't have the best candidacy. We're just going to have to make do with the lesser evil. Don't you think independent candidacy would widen the choices for the electorate?
Have you thought about this? A lot of those serving currently were trying to get back, and they couldn't get back because they never got their party nominations. They didn't get their party tickets. So that was where the idea of, okay, if I could run as an independent, maybe I could. Yeah, we saw a former minister who went back to his state, couldn't get the PDP ticket. APC was, he kept, shortly he went to Labour. Labour said, no, we already have someone. Then he went to another party. I mean, right, so I guess that's where the idea of, okay, why don't you run as an independent? It's not a bad idea. I mean, we have independent. We saw, even in New York, we saw the former mayor, he was an independent. But, the fact is that, like he said, that is not our major focus. That is not our major problem. There are issues on ground that I thought the Senate can even look into that and actually find ways to help the people. We were talking before we...
Just a minute. Let's take this call. Hello, good morning. You're on to CoreDigest. What's your name and where are you calling from?
Yeah, my name is Kofa Fumilaya from Kogi State.
Fumilaya from Kogi State. Please go ahead with your contribution.
Yeah. Okay, I just want to talk about the issue about the postponement of the election.
All right.
And why is it that our government are taking the Boko Haram insurgency really personal these days, just after the postponement of the election? Why weren't they too serious about it? I mean, too serious about it. Why is it now? The whatever that has been going on for the past 4 years, how do you expect them to end it within 6 weeks? I'm just thinking that there might be something harder. I don't know. I don't even know if I sound what I'm saying.
No, I do. I think we do. I think we do. Fumilayo, thank you very much for your contribution. Is that thought valid, really? Because many are saying that how come we now have good news now, few weeks to the election. But on the contrary, some are saying, well, it's a regional force. Probably it's a style of attack that we've not, an approach that we've not used in the past.
The same regional force could have been galvanized way back.
No, but you see, like I said, there are people who occupy security advisory positions, who have information I don't have. And at occasions, they have come out to say, look, before now, they didn't have the cooperation of those regional forces. They didn't have the equipment they have now. And so that the resources at their disposal presently were not there. And so they can do better now than they could do before. And so I just want to believe, as far as for all I care, is that if the people in the Northeast can go to bed at night and sleep with both eyes closed, then I'm happy. I don't want to be dragged into all of the intrigues, and the politics of what goes on behind or what doesn't happen behind. What's important to me is let's have peace established around the length and breadth of this country.
Whichever way it comes.
However it is done, let it be done.
It's all right.
And thereafter, we can talk politics.
Let's move ahead because we'll be rounding up very shortly. The issue of interim government, no doubt, Mr. President debunked already, and he has even called it a treasonable offense. But what would you say that many are beginning to talk about voter apathy? as a result of the postponement of the election. But on the contrary, INEC seem to be registering more collections of PVC. What are your thoughts along that line? Do you see more people coming out to vote on March 28th and April 8th?
I see people coming out to vote. 6 weeks is a long time. And there's nothing to say. Even the politicians themselves, there's a whole lot of spending, movement and everything. We saw, when we were, my colleague and I saw one of the candidates in Lagos, and he was looking spent, But, that was enough time for him to sit down a bit, relax, get himself together. But I don't see voter apathy. But what I see is that, people have been talking. The issue the last caller raised was that this looks like a political strategy, that you didn't do this, you now want to do it within 6 weeks, you think you're going to fool us. I think at this level, a lot of people are now aware. And that seemingly tactics of wanting to fool people may not work. That's what I see happening. And how the results will go, I don't know whether it will be favorable to some party who have planned their strategies down. And it wouldn't work the way they work. Because I feel a lot of people are now informed. People now want to know what is happening, where and how it is happening. People are more interested than before. 4 years ago, the awareness you have now is different. So the 6 weeks is a long time. A lot of people are waiting to see what will happen. But I don't see it really shifting.
Enough to change people's mind?
I don't think so.
He has spoken like a lawyer. Let me now talk like a politician. You are going to have more voter apathy. Number one reason is the people on the street. A lot of people who make noise on newspaper and radio don't vote. And those who actually vote don't know who to vote for. And you want to know why the number of people collecting PVCs are increasing? In Lagos State, a political party gives 5,000 naira for you to show your PVC. You see, if you have all of these kind of things going on around the country, people just definitely need their PVC. For you to attend, there was a concert in Lagos. For you to participate, to attend the concert, you needed your PVC. And so people just needed their PVC to go have a good time.
Not necessarily to go.
Not because they wanted to vote. Somebody says, I'm going to give 5,000 naira if you can show your PVC. Why not? I got my PVC, I collect the 5,000 naira, I sit back at home. It's not going to come with soldiers to take me out of my house on election day. So you have these realities. But you see, people can sit down and analyze. But the truth is, as a politician, and I relate to the people, and I tell you of a fact, that people don't even know who to vote for. People are more distant from the electoral processes. People are dissatisfied with the quality of governance they are getting at every level. And so, if anybody is talking
Isn't that enough reasons to want to go out and register?
Unfortunately, in the country we live in, that's all the reason they need not to participate.
Let's get to the phone lines. Hello, good morning.
Hello?
Welcome to CoreDigest. What's your name? Where are you calling from?
Hello?
You're on. Can you give us your name and where you're calling from?
All right, my name is Maureen. I'm calling.
Maureen, where are you calling from?
I am calling from Anambra State.
All right, please go ahead with your contribution, Maureen.
I am calling from Anambra State. Please.
I got that. Please go ahead with your contribution, Maureen.
Okay, please, I would like to take on this, the young man that said, why wouldn't APC send a congratulatory message to it is my imagination when there is no space for anyone to send any congratulations, because the moment you turn on your television set, you see this jingle and this faithful message from the ruling party. And sometimes I get so tired because I didn't pay for my 7 skills to start there was an injury in the past. This generation does not deserve such pension. See, I didn't say, this is so, it is disgraceful. I'm trying to understand the whole system. The ministry has been politicized, no doubt. You see, it was so painful when I came to realize that this particular nation could consider somebody at the hierarchy of the general to be a peacekeeper. That's a no, I am not an APC specialist. I'm neither a PDP because anything now. I'm not a PDP follower. Please let them resist this jingle and NDC or whoever the authorities are to clear away some of these things for Christ's sake, because because the election is appearing very scary. So scary. So the leader man that is talking about congratulatory message to the military. This scandal of leaking video and leaking that, and it is annoying. And the military to do a whole lot. I know when this democracy came in unit, and we did everything possible to the image of the army was so beautiful. These civilians, these very particular civilians to talk about, they will come back to secure the Nigerian army complications. The same group of individuals have gone there to sabotage the image of the army. And now, instead of helping the situation, they are talking about this jingle they are showing. For Christ's sake, is the military image. They should stop it. It is not good.
It's all right. Just a minute, Maureen. Do you have your PVC now?
What's my PVC?
Exactly.
Of course, I have my PVC.
And are you planning to vote?
No, we don't stand. I don't even think I will come out from my house that day.
Okay, that's exactly where I was going to. Let's see if this call goes through. Looks as if we have an international caller on the line. Hello, good morning. What's your name and where are you calling from?
Hello.
What's your name? Where are you calling from? From Dallas. How is Dallas, Texas today? Can you turn down the volume of your TV? It's all right. Let's have your contribution, Adidayo. It's all right, Adidayo. Thank you very much for your contribution from Dallas, Texas this morning. It looks as if Maureen just corroborated his own idea that we have a lot of
is just one
activism. We have a lot of social media.
Maureen is just one person. Okay. There are a lot of people out there that I know. People are tired of what's happening. People are tired of things happening. We're seeing things that never used to be in this country, and some people are now aware that, okay, let me just vote out whoever is here. Let me vote my conscience, whether my vote counts or not.
You recall what happened in Okrika in Rivers State?
Yes.
Just imagine that kind of a scenario. I mean, if you were to be a resident of that particular locality, would you want to come out to vote?
That's Okrika. We have 774 local government
areas in Nigeria. Okay.
So one place is not enough to say I shouldn't do that in mine. That's not the case in Surulere, where I'm from. So I want to go out. I have people who say, let's just go. I have two people who have relocated, because you talk based on what you see. I have people who registered on my street and they've called me. I had to put a call through to my wife that they said they want to come and sleep over because they stay at a father place, that they want to sleep over at ours so that they can vote. I said, no problem. So the same way Maureen doesn't want to go out,
So you're
some other
already a
people want to.
crusader of active participation.
Exactly.
That's good. But a court of appeal just passed a judgment, and looks as if we're talking about no use of military, what the opposition calls
No, that was
the
not what the appeal court said.
militarization of the Ekiti election.
No, that's not what the appeal court said. What the appeal court said, to use their words, was that the military should not supervise the elections. The military has never supervised any election in this country.
You mean it doesn't have anything to do with
Only,
the role they played in formal elections?
I've been involved in the electoral process. I was in Ekiti, I was in Osun, I was in Anambra. All right? And in none of these circumstances do you see the military at the polling units. They keep people off the streets. That's what mischief makers want the military out of the system. And whether they like it or not, the people who are going to die on election day are not soldiers. They are Nigerians. For all I care, we need the soldiers to keep the place safe.
Have you heard the Ekiti audio clip that involved some political stakeholders? And
you see, whatever it is that will bring our military to disrepute, I say to hell with it.
What about the authenticity of that video clip?
I've not
That
validated.
audio clip.
Has anybody validated?
The people that were alleged have not also
they have not denied
their presence in that particular
and I've also said, but somebody said, yeah, he was there, but that what is being turned out now is not what happened. That's not my business. I don't want to go there. Do you understand me? I don't want to go there. What I want is keep the streets safe on election day.
Can we close our eyes to this reality? Because for the Ekiti, for instance, the APC alleged that certain of their members were unlawfully arrested by the Nigerian military. Exactly what we heard in that audio clip.
Sorry, sir. Can I
someone says, pick up Daramona.
Sorry, I apologize for butting in. Can I ask you of a fact? Because in Ekiti State, during the elections, every local government chairman from Lagos was in Ekiti State. Every governor of an APC state was in Ekiti State.
Except Amechi.
Not all of them were able.
Amechi was shot out. He was on his way to Ekiti. He was shot out.
I believe Edo State governor was shot out.
He was shot out also. Not because they didn't want to go. They were prepared with their bags and everything, preparing to go into Ekiti. They were shot out. What is the business of a local government chairman in Lagos in Ekiti during the elections? They had no voting right. They had no stake. They were not contesting elections. Why do we preclude?
That was not only restricted to the APC.
Please.
It was across.
No.
Iliola Omisheri was also in
Please.
APC.
I'll be categorical. I'll spell it all out. Because if all the PDP governors were in Ekiti would not have asked all of us. I was in Ekiti. I was on ground.
Okay.
I was in the field. Because I had the candidate in the elections. So we must be careful. I'm trying as much as possible to keep to my tent. I do not want to be dragged into the argument between the APC and the PDP. But the truth is this. If we destroy all the institutions that we have as a country, because for partisan reasons, because we want to contest an election in 2015, we pull down the army, we pull down the police, we pull down the SSS, we destroy what will be left of us as a nation?
Let me come to you quickly, legal practitioner. Has the role of the military ever been to man the elections? What should be the role of the police, for crying out loud? Why should the military be involved in any way in the electoral process?
It is for the police to supervise, and the job of the police is to be around for election. Most times, you don't bring the military in until maybe there's a security threat or something, or you feel the police won't be able to handle certain areas.
Okay.
Like we saw in Ekiti, I wasn't there, I just saw clips. We saw soldiers on the street, but I don't think we saw soldiers at the polling units. All right, and basically the courts have said, but I want to say something about the military. I hope and pray that they don't drag the Nigerian military into politics. Because, for example, the statement made last week on their site, or I think on their Twitter account, about Obasanjo, I didn't expect that. And I have not heard or seen any denial. No military comes to say that about his general, regardless. Okay? That's one. But I feel that the military should not dabble into politics. It will be too heavy. It will be too much. And it's not necessary. Because it will, the effect, won't, and like he said, if we drag down all our institutions, we will have nothing left.
Do we have proofs that we have a politicized military? There are many who hold the opinion that security agencies are at the beck and call of the executive.
It's convenient for people to throw allegations. And it's unfortunate that we live in a country where rumors thrive. It's a disaster. I don't, like I said, you know, people say all manners of things, and sometimes I listen, sometimes I just turn my ears away. The truth is this: in most times, most of these allegations are never substantiated. This whole video thing, this whole audio clip, I'll tell you on good authority, the people that I know that are in the APC, if they had good grounds, they'll be in court.
You are a politician. Are you saying categorically now that from all of your years of experience in Nigerian politics, you have never witnessed the use of any security agency by the politics, but by the politicians that be, and by the government on election day?
No, I'll tell you, no. We have to be fair to these institutions.
Not many people will agree with that.
Please,
has been the truth.
Please, I have been a polling agent. I have been an election supervisor. For crying out loud, I've been involved in the process. And because what do the police do even on election day? Most times the police that come to the polling units don't have even a baton. They sit at the corner. As much as possible, they try not to get involved in the process. You do your own thing. Even when two political party agents fight, the police don't even raise a finger. But it's very convenient for people to, to make allegations, to throw filth and mud at everybody. And we enjoy it in this country. We like mudslinging. The police is this. Has anybody been able to show, in any of the electoral cases, in any electoral tribunal, have they produced a policeman who snatched a ballot box?
But now we have an audio clip that allegedly indicts the Nigerian military.
Thank you for that word, allegedly. And until substantiated, it remains an allegation. And let's leave it at that.
Legal practitioner, barrister, will you leave it at that? Are you also going to leave it like that?
No, I feel that something should be done in respect. I heard, or I saw in the papers when APC, I think you even read it out, that they said that the authorities should actually come out. And the way we leave things to just go in this country, particularly if it favors those in power,
I wish I had time.
Is not.
I would have played it to you.
I heard.
And you feel the urgency, the moral justification of those things that transpired in that audio. Allegations, no doubt. But then, are you saying that such allegations should not be, I'm
sorry, sir. Is it not disgraceful? Is it not disgraceful
found out
that a junior military officer goes into a meeting with his commander and tapes his commander and broadcasts to the rest of the world, and he has so many channels within the military hierarchy to have dealt with that within the military institution?
You're saying we should have taken that back to the Nigerian military?
Please, sir.
Is that realistic, sir?
Yes, very realistic. It's very realistic. It's a shame that I think the man should have even been expelled from the military by now. He has so much of machinery within the military to have dealt with those issues within the confines of the army.
But what's the guarantee?
The military is a disciplined force, for crying out loud. Nobody should tell me that the Nigerian army is not a disciplined entity. I would disagree vehemently. The Nigerian army is still a very disciplined organization. And if he has such damning evidences, the man he was talking about is just a brigadier general.
Hello?
Let me take this call. Hello, good morning.
Hello, good morning.
Welcome to CoreDigest. I need you to turn down the volume of your TV set. Can you do that?
Yes,
beautiful. What's your name?
Yeah, Femi, good morning. Mohammed Jos from Jos.
Okay, please go ahead with your contribution, Mohammed.
You see, Mohammed, I said Mohammed.
Yeah, go ahead. Please go ahead.
The last time we spoke, I said something that we should all try and put Nigeria together. Okay. Let's all try to make Nigeria one. Let's be United States of America, too, the United States of Nigeria. If one of us come out, start saying one thing or the other country, it does not mean well for us. The younger ones are there. A lot of things will be happening. There will be picking some bad precedent. You see, politics is not a do or die affair. It's incredible. We should find a credible way of selecting our leaders. What is politics? For you to sell Coke and Fanta, if you know how to market your Fanta, you have more market. Not for us to kill ourselves. Even if Fanta does not work, we still have another opportunity to buy the Sprite or whatever.
You can drink water, sir.
See, the last time, the military institution that has been battered, is very a very high reputable institution, they came out and denied one of their own, the general. That is where the discipline came from, the indiscipline. Whatever happened in the military ends up in the military. For this young officer to take his, he sees it, he has seen it. Buhari was denied that he has no credential. And who came, someone that has not been in the military before, who does not know the story, the history, came publicly. I have witnessed one incident. EFCC went into defense. During that, they wanted to prosecute Alamasia. They threw EFCC out. We don't do that here. Go and look for your kills file outside. You can see the thing keep on degenerating. See, we have to put up with whatever we put ourselves into.
Thank you very much, Mohammed from Just. I'm afraid we're running out of time.
And that's scary.
Well, quite scary. Let me just give you 1 minute each to round up your thoughts on this particular issue. I'll start with you, Barrister.
The military?
On all of the issues we've been discussing.
I think we should just, one word. I think we should just put this country forward. Because if we blow up this country, we have nowhere to go. Even the United States or the United Kingdom, I cannot go and be a second citizen. They know themselves. They will give me their first class right.
You even look different, obviously.
Well, but basically, I think we should put the interests of this country forward. We should think about ourselves, think about our children. I think it's this one Nigeria that we've always had, that we will still have. And government will go, government will come. It will still be us. So let's not destroy this country because we don't have anywhere to go. Because if Nigeria blows up, the whole of West Africa coast will not contain us. That's all I have to say.
Sam?
Yeah, I just add myself to him. I think this country, we should hold this country over and above every other interest, partisan or otherwise. And we must also not put down our institutions. No matter how desperate we get, we must respect our institutions, we must nurture them, we must put our best behind our institutions so that they can endure. Because whether we like it or not, this country is the only country we have. And if we put our hands together and pull it down, we are going to have enemies outside who are going to assist us destroy it. We have a stake in this country. We must build this nation and we must build our institutions.
Thank you very much, gentlemen, for finding time to join us today. I've been speaking with Femi Anafe, who is the caretaker chairman of Labour Party in Lagos. Thank you, sir, for joining us today. Barrister Bosun Osifora, I hope you come again.
Thank you. I'll be here anytime.
Thank you very much for joining us on the show.
Thank you.
Martin Luther King Jr. says we must learn to live together as brothers or die together as fools. And I believe that you and I do have a responsibility to play as we count down to another general election. Of course, the politicians suggested voter apathy, but I think that the power to elect leadership should be in our hands. You should go out, cash in on the extension of the PVC collection, and then, of course, go out to vote your candidate in the forthcoming elections. I am Nifemi Oguntoye. I'll be back tomorrow, God willing. Stick around for the top of the hour news. Don't go away.
Core TV News, expanding your view.